I warned them, I begged them, actually every last one at every meeting and every backyard barbecue where someone wanted to brag about Ridgeview Oaks, the future of Crest County. There's a fault line under that ridge, I told them. I told them it's a sleeping monster just waiting for the right moment. But the HOA, they didn't just ignore me, they laughed me out of the room. Called me a bitter old man, said I was trying to sabotage their dream development like I had nothing better to do. So they built 150 luxury homes right where the earth splits. And then because the universe has a mean sense of humor, one quiet morning, the ground roared. 19 seconds, that's all it took. The ridge broke, houses folded like they were made of cards, and suddenly every warning I'd ever given became impossible to ignore. This story, it isn't just about an earthquake. It's about arrogance, silence. What happens when you build your pride right on top of a buried truth? Stick with me. Because the moment the ground started shaking, so did everything folks around here thought they knew about justice. When I moved to Ridgeview Oaks, I really did believe I'd found the last quiet place on Earth. 32 years as a state geologist had left me with knees that click like loose gravel, one ear half deaf from a dynamite charge that blew 2 seconds early back in '04, and hands that shake sometimes not from nerves, just from carrying too many soil cores and seismic charts, knowing some of them were predicting death that nobody wanted to read. I was tired, just tired enough that a cul-de-sac lined with identical mailboxes and 75-foot lawns felt like mercy. I bought the house for the land, not for the neighbors. Ridgeview Oaks sits right up on the edge of Crest County, high enough in the foothills to catch the last cool breath of evening. There's a central bowl in the middle flat, as a pool table, almost like the earth took a deep breath and just forgot to let it out. October brings maples that burn red along every curb. Kids ride bikes without helmets. Every house is the same gentle roof line, every garage door the same bland beige. When the realtor lowered her voice and said, "The HOA is active, Mr. Redford, but if you follow the rules, they'll leave you alone," she made it sound like a blessing. I planned to disappear. No political signs, no weird paint colors, no boat in the driveway. My dream was a simple one. Black coffee at dawn on my back deck, watching fog slip off the low hills, feeling the planet breathe under my feet. That was it. But here's the thing, the planet, even when it pretends to be asleep, never really stops moving. Week 3, I noticed the first warning sign. Dawn birds shoot up in a panic circle, wild drop back down like they've been yanked on a string. My deck, brand new pressure-treated pine, has this almost imperceptible tilt. West, so subtle, a carpenter's level barely picks it up. But old geologists know what a tilt means. Every so often after a perfectly dry night, never after rain, I'd find a fine white powder in the corner of the yard, bright as talc under the porch light. Then the sycamores. A straight row of them behind the lots on Sycamore Lane, tall, healthy. But one leans just enough to notice if you know trees the way I do. Then another leaning the opposite way, not wind, not root rot. Subsurface shift, slow, patient, deadly. I'd seen it before. Now the official maps, the ones the public gets, show Ridgeview Oaks, sitting outside all the big red hazard lines. But I still had access. Retirement didn't strip all my passwords. I checked the post-2010 overlays, the locked ones. And there it was, a dormant fault quiet since the 1870s, running right under the northeast ridge. Same ridge the HOA had just bought up cheap from the city, their overlook phase. I heard the name at the August potluck, Karen Bradford, HOA president, standing up in a pastel blazer paper plate, in one hand, mic in the other. "We are bringing Ridgeview Oaks into the modern era," she announced. "Luxury cottages with panoramic views, artisan paths, a boutique cafe." The crowd clapped. A guy in a pink shirt actually whistled. Meanwhile, I'm standing there with a spoonful of potato salad ice running down my spine. That ridge isn't just steep, it's broken. Most faults don't make a scene. They stretch, they wait, and they never forgive. That night I drag out my old field kit boots, cracked radar still works. I'm up at 4 a.m., sneaking past the orange construction fence. Ground-penetrating radar sweeps the ridge and my screen lights up like a Christmas tree gone wrong. The fault is not only there, it's awake. Micro tremors tripled in a year. Nothing catastrophic. Yet. But with 150 homes coming built slab on grade, no deep anchors, it's like loading a gun and putting it to the temple of an entire neighborhood. The next morning I walk into the HOA office, lemon polish and desperation in the air. Karen in a peach blazer that could stop traffic. Mr. Redford. Here, about your hedge again? No, I say this is about the land you're building on. I drop a folder on her desk. Radar scans, overlays, projections. You're building on an active extension of the Crest County Fault. If you don't use deep piling base isolators. She cuts me off with a cruise ship laugh. The city approved us. Are you saying your hobby equipment found something they missed? I'm saying they looked where you paid them to look. That's when it got ugly. She freezes me out, drops a formal warning in my HOA file, accuses me of disruptive behavior, unauthorized surveying. Threatens me with a fine if I keep spreading alarm. At the next HOA meeting, Karen turns the whole room against me. We must discourage misinformation and fear, she says, looking right at me. I stand up, chair scraping, and say, it's not misinformation. It's 3 decades of field experience. Karen smiles sharp as a scalpel. Perhaps if you're concerned, you should consult a professional who isn't retired. Nervous laughter. I walk out with my ears burning. But humiliation sharpens you. I dust off every map, every log, every core sample from my career. And I start a blog. Ridgeview Beneath the Fault. 10 days later, I've got 100 readers. Neighbors start avoiding me, but a few whisper thanks. A father tells me his house shakes at night, not like a truck, but something older, deeper. I send my data to Dr. Neil Harlan, geophysicist, old friend. His reply, this is solid red. You're right to raise hell. I take it to City Hall. The clerk flips through my stack with dread. This is detailed, but there's no stamp. 3 days later, the email, your concerns have been reviewed. No action required. That same week, my blog gets hit with a DMCA takedown. My mailbox gets raided, every envelope gone. Message received, stop or we'll erase you piece by piece. I stop sleeping. I sit on the deck at 3 a.m., coffee black as tar, watching the floodlights on the ridge. Framing crews work through the night. I keep pushing. Dana Brookman, attorney, calls. She's filing for an injunction. It gets denied, of course, but subpoenas start flying. The ground patient, as ever, refuses to wait for lawyers. Monday 1st, 14 a.m., a 3.2 Quake slaps the whole neighborhood awake. Car alarm scout barking me, sitting in the dark, waiting for the HOA to say something. They don't. I send my own alert, check your foundations. HOA responds with a cease and desist. They try to silence me, but they can't silence the earth. 3 nights later, 2:11 a.m., the big one starts rumbling. Magnitude 4.6. My bed slides across the floor. Windows bow. The ridge roars. I watch houses swaying, transformers blowing blue fire. I know deep down that the fault's just cleared its throat. Karen's official statement. We are aware of recent regional seismic activity. Ridgeview Oaks is safe and thriving. I read it on my cracked phone, aftershock still rippling under my bare feet. Safe and thriving, right. After that, it all snowballs. New bylaws. Anyone spreading alarmist materials is subject to expulsion. Flyers go up my face, photoshopped onto a screaming cartoon chicken. The sky is not falling. Neighbors cross the street to avoid me. Dana calls Discovery Gold. Subpoenas uncover Karen's emails. I know about the fault line. Get me someone who'll sign off anyway. Money is not an issue. Another one, Redford's digging around again. Discredit him. Another, the old soil report is fine. Everyone wins if we keep this quiet. The day before the quake, they throw a party, ribbon-cutting champagne balloons. Karen's the star. I'm in the back, folder under my arm, ignored until a reporter sees me. Care to comment? I just hold up the folder. Truth written on it. No comment. The ground will do the talking soon enough. August 28th, 6:43 a.m. The world exhales. It starts with a boom, deep, old, hungry. Then the punch. The deck disappears from under me. I fly 6 feet, crash into the yard, watch the sky split open. The ridge lets go. Houses slide downhill in sequence, mailboxes, welcome signs, all of it. Roofs crush windows, explode red maples, bow and shatter. The air stinks of copper drywall and Earth's own blood. When the dust clears where Karen's dream stood, there's a fresh scar, raw, steaming, 2 meters high. I limp through chaos, calling for Scout. He finds me muddy, wild-eyed. We're both bleeding. I become a ghost in my own neighborhood. People in pajamas clutching dogs' faces streaked with dust. Deputies wave me through the barricade. Redford, retired state geologist. I walk into hell with a clipboard I found in the gutter. The overlook tract is a war zone. Retaining walls, burst houses dangle off cliffs, gas leaks spark fires. Karen arrives, hair undone, trench coat over pajamas. She looks at me, no audience, no smile. I didn't know, she whispers. Yes, you did, I say. She turns away. By noon, Ridgeview Oaks is on every network from San Francisco to Tokyo. My Channel 12 interview goes viral, had he told so. I don't watch any of it. Too busy crawling through rubble calling for survivors. The death toll rises, 3 lives lost. At the temporary memorial, a woman touches my shoulder. Thank you for trying, she says. I nod. There's nothing left to say. The lawsuit comes fast and hard. Subpoenaed emails, doctored permits, city officials flipping. The trial is brutal. Dana starts with Karen's own words. Get me someone who will sign off anyway. Money is not an issue. Neil testifies. The failure to act was not a mistake. It was a decision. I take the stand. Hands, trembling, voice flat. Why did I keep fighting? Because the earth always tells the truth. And if you hear it whispering and do nothing, you become part of the lie. The verdict: gross negligence, deliberate concealment. HOA dissolved. Karen barred from any board ever. The city ordered to audit every permit. Damages $187 million. That's justice, I guess, but it's 3 coffins too late. A year later, Ridgeview Oaks breathes different. The overlook tract is wildflowers and warning signs. The city fenced it off. Nobody tries to rebuild. Some Sunday mornings I walk Scout past the memorial, 3 names etched deep under Neil's words. The failure to act was not a mistake. It was a decision. Fresh flowers every week, no one sees who brings them. I never left. Not for glory, there is none. I stayed because somebody has to remember. Now, once a month I teach workshops in the library, how to read the ground, how to spot trouble before it's too late. Neil Skypes and Dana wrote the handbook. Kids come up and say their parents almost bought one of those houses. I hand them a piece of shale from the scarp. Keep it in your pocket, I tell them. Never trust quiet ground. Some stories aren't meant for hardcover. They're meant to be whispered over fences, told on porches, while dogs sniff each other's grief. My house is still the same deck, a little more crooked, coffee pot leaky as ever. Scout snores louder, and I let him. He earned it. Some mornings I sit on the step looking at the scar wildflowers blooming thick. The wind moves over it, smoothing everything down. Sometimes, if I'm real quiet, I swear I can hear the earth sigh, not in warning, but in relief. It finally got to speak. And this time, we listened. So let me ask you, have you ever seen warning signs that everyone else wanted to ignore? What would you have done? Would you have kept fighting? Or walked away? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about justice, about truth, about the ground we stand on. Because sometimes the only thing standing between disaster and survival is whether we choose to listen.